Well, guys, so here we are yet again in my famous garage with the famous Geo. I've hit kind of a few hang-ups, nothing that, a little time wouldn't have passed up, but a couple hang-ups were the wrist pins in my connecting rods that go into the pistons. As you can see, I've got the new pistons on and the new wrist pins in and locked and everything. The issue with these is they weren't what's called free floating, meaning you can't just pull them out and put them back in. You actually have to get them pressed in. A couple of the people on the forum were saying that I could have just done this with a blowtorch, like one of those little blue, MAP gas type deals, and that would have worked, but I would really run the risk of annealing the wrist pin and or any other part here we've got. So I decided not to do that, and plus I didn't really want to spend the money again on something that I was just going to use once. So I paid $40 to have them all put on the proper way, and I did check them. They were on all the right connecting rods and everything. The Mickey Mouse ears are facing in the right direction on all three of them. So that's good. Before I move on to the old and new over there, what I'm going to have to essentially do for the block and everything before I can even get these bad boys in with the compression rings on is I'm going to have to hone out the cylinder. That's what this does. You put like a mild lubricant in here. In my case, it's going to be WD-40, and that's what a few people have actually recommended, and they say it works just as good as honing oil and 30 weight oil. It's just a lubricant. That's kind of what you need. But as you can kind of see, I don't know if you guys can, but you see all that glaze that's on there and everything. The cylinder walls aren't supposed to be that shiny. So what this basically does is it is going to form sort of a crosshatch, type pattern all up and down the cylinder walls on all three cylinders. And what it does is it helps your compression rings seat the right way. So what that means is, if I was just to leave them how they are, sometimes you can get away with this and it'll run just fine and everything. But, for the compression rings to break in the right way, it needs that, abrasive surface, and it needs to, be worn. It's like a break-in period almost. But I've got the rings and everything. They're in the car, and the new bearings. These are the old bearings that are still on it. Not a big deal. Can replace those with the new ones, of course. That's what I'm going to do. But anyways, what you do is you just spray down the cylinder walls or lubricate, whatever your choice lubricant is, and you go up and down for about 10 or 20 seconds. And hopefully, if I do it right and don't screw anything up, that should be the next step. And the crankshaft down here, I'm actually going to have to end up covering up with some tape, as well as the journals around the side here. So I don't want any metal shavings, because there is going to be metal shavings that are going to be essentially going all over the place here. I also have to replace the water pump, and right now that's probably going to be the easiest thing while I'm waiting on the other drill battery there to charge. I don't even know if this one's fully charged, but I am going to wait for the one to be fully charged so this thing doesn't die on me halfway through a cylinder, because that would be kind of bad. Because you got to pull it out, and it's just gonna mess things up. But yeah, the water pump is gonna need to be replaced. I've got the new one there in the box, in the Kabuki box. Let's say Kabuki. Yep. So that's kind of the next step in all this. I have been kind of slacking the past few days, and that wasn't necessarily intentional. It's just I've been at work and get home kind of tired. I'm kind of almost too tired to drink a beer, but I end up doing that anyways most of the time. But yeah, that's kind of how things are looking on that end. I will say that I'm, as far as all this is said and done, right now I'm halfway through this. And as I said before, my only worry is going to be getting everything on the exact same way it came off with the proper torques and everything, and getting this thing timed, which I'm going to see about doing that myself. I haven't really looked into it all that much, but I'm thinking that I will be able to do it, just as how I've gotten this far. Believe me, guys, there's been a few times where I've really doubted myself going into all this, but it's you just keep pressing on, and you just don't give up until there's nothing left to give, per se. But enough of that bullshitting. Out with the old, in with the new. And as you can see, there's a hell of a difference between this old one over the new one. And I'll show you guys the undersides of the valves and everything. Hopefully I don't cut myself again. But there's your old valves, and that's what they're supposed to look like. So it's kind of been most of my problems I'm kind of realizing now were most likely from the head. However, those rings and the bearings were just about to go out. These engines only last about 200,000 miles on the original parts and everything before they need to be rebuilt. And that is with, regular maintenance and everything. So, it's really not that much of a crapshoot that with 170,000 miles on this thing that I'm already starting to notice a little bit here and there. So I did kind of anticipate doing a lot of this stuff, but this is the new head. We got the cam gear. It's in the Magic Treasure Trove of parts on the other side of the Geo. That's going to be put onto here. There is also apparently another part on here that, if I didn't already take it off, needs to come off of this old one and go onto this one. I can't remember what it is, and just looking at it right here how I am, I can't really tell, what's here and what's not. But yeah, so that's kind of how things are looking. Don't know if I'm going to really get to doing anything other than taping up the crankshaft today. But most likely, I guarantee tomorrow I should be working on this thing. That's really what I want to be doing. I need to get this thing done. I really want to drive it. I'm not going to lie. I really want to drive this Geo to and from work and everything. Just so it can start saving me in a lot of gas prices. Not that the Gravity Focus over there doesn't get bad gas mileage at all, because it doesn't, but it gets 35. This is supposed to get 47, so you can see where I'm kind of going along with this. And by the way, guys, I was really surprised, but John actually cleaned up this thing really damn good after he had it. I wasn't even hardly expecting him to clean it, let alone, if he did, just do a half-assed job, but he didn't disappoint me. He did a good job cleaning this out. Of course there's going to be stains here and there, but he got out all the mess and shit that he brought in here, and I'm thankful that he actually did that. But that's kind of the way this is all looking. And for an updated mileage, it's got 172,129 miles on it with some change. But I don't know how much more I can bullshit about all this, but that's what's going to be going on tomorrow. And I don't know when I'm going to be completely done with all this. I really don't, because I kind of went into this thinking that I didn't know how long it was going to take me to do all this. I honestly had no idea. I had ballparked maybe a weekend or two, but that might just turn into 2 weekends, or possibly even 3. There is a bunch of sealant and stuff, and stuff like Loctite that I'm going to have to buy. I've got a whole list of these different, I guess you could say chemical compounds and shit like that I've got to buy for the gaskets. I've got to buy copper spray for the head gasket. And I think for a couple of the other gaskets as well, the intake and exhaust manifold gaskets might need that. I'll have to check up on the forums, but I need some Loctite. And if I didn't touch on it earlier, this thing doesn't have an oil pan. Or not an oil pan, excuse me, but it doesn't have a gasket for the oil pan. they use RTV, and I think I did touch on this, but it messes up with one of the sensor that's in that in the pan if you put a gasket in it. So I'm gonna have to get some black RTV. I've got some here at the house, but it's clear, and apparently that stuff's not good enough. So, you know, everything's slowly coming together on this. I've got pretty far on a lot of it. Yeah, so hopefully, and I do say hopefully, I will be driving this thing to work sooner or later. So I think that's going to be about it for this video. You all stay classy.